When you lose trust in someone, losing trust in someone can really have a significant impact on our life. And we're going to talk today about how we can use this experience of losing trust in someone to help us build our inner strength and move forward more empowered. Welcome to the channel. I'm Kim Marie, and this channel is all about supporting women to step into their most empowered self so they can live their most fulfilling life. What happens when you lose trust in someone, including yourself? Today we're going to take a look at what trust is and what it's not. We're going to look at how to become clear on whether or not trust is truly lost. And we're going to explore methods of reconnecting to your inner strength after trust is lost. So let's dive in. First, we have to understand what trust actually is. We often really confuse this because so often trust is determined by expectations. We think people should just know, and then when they don't do what we think they should know, we feel like, we can't trust them, or we feel like somebody is only going to trust us if we do what they want us to do or what we think they want us to do. These are not at all levels of understanding trust. Trust has a lot of specific components to it to help us understand how trust works, how to trust or not trust someone, and then how to understand if we've really lost trust in someone, if that's what's actually happened. So the first piece is to understand that trust comes with a certain amount of sincerity. There's a sincerity in doing what is promised or what is shared, okay? And secondly, there's a certain amount of reliability that will happen around trust. Like, is this thing reliably done by that person you're saying you've lost trust in, okay? When you lose trust in someone, you need to look at, well, were they sincere in the first place? Were they reliable, a person that you could count on to do this thing? And then another piece is the concept of their competence. Were you trusting them to do something that they weren't competent of in the first place? And maybe that means you shouldn't have trusted them in the first place. And then finally, their capacity. Did they have the capacity to do what it is that you were wanting them to do? All right. These are really important pieces to consider. And sometimes, yes, maybe we lost trust in someone. Maybe those things were there and they really breached the trust. Maybe they really broke their promises. They didn't keep their word. There was there was an agreement and it was clear and they completely disregarded it. Okay, then understandable that we would lose trust in someone. But the question I have is, were these things in place? Was there a solid agreement in place? And so did they really breach the agreement, or did you just think they were supposed to do that? So have you really lost trust in someone, or have your expectations simply not been met? Now, of course, the impact of feeling like we've lost trust in someone can generate all kinds of emotional and mental situations. We get all these stories in our head about the way things happen. We have a lot of emotions that might include things like anger and anxiety and frustration, and even maybe some overwhelm if we were trusting someone to help us out. So how do we know if we've really lost trust? Well, we might feel some of those emotions I'm mentioning, but we also want to take a look at those components of trust that I mentioned and understand if they were truly not met or if it was our expectations that were not met. It's really important not to assume anything in this situation and to explore more and maybe redefine how we're approaching things and reorient ourselves so that we can have a conversation that helps us understand and helps the person to understand what we're feeling. Maybe we've never had the formal conversation, but we can step in and say, so I feel like I'm losing trust in you because this is happening and that is happening and here are the things going on for me, and I want to understand your perspective. Like, is this something you understood that you were supposed to do or that you felt you wanted to do? Because I thought you did and it doesn't seem like you do. Having those kinds of conversations can be very difficult, but they're so incredibly important. I remember a situation, and I very much regret it. I feel sad about it because I had a partner in a business earlier in my life, and that partner talked about how good she was at networking and loved going to networking events and loved doing this and that. And I was definitely more the technical person. I liked to be at the desk doing the technical work that we were doing. We had an interior design business together. And I thought she was going to be the marketer and I was going to be doing a lot of the design work. Not that she wasn't going to do the design work, but I definitely thought she had all kinds of ideas and information about how to market, how to get the word out, how to put ourselves out there, how to network. And when push came to shove, I saw very quickly that she wanted to do all design work and was not out there trying to market and didn't seem to have any thoughts about how we could promote the business. And instead of feeling courageous enough to talk to her about this, I was definitely not in my empowered days. I had not yet learned how to feel more empowered as a woman. I was afraid to say anything to her. I just got resentful and I got angry and I got frustrated and I lost trust in her. But the reality is those were my expectations because of a few things that she said. I assumed that she was going to do this role and we didn't talk about it. And ultimately I moved away and the business, dissolved based on me moving. But I feel like in many ways I lost a friend because I did not honestly communicate what my expectations were and what my hopes were and why I was losing trust. And looking back on it from an empowered place, from my inner wise self, I can see totally where the breakdown happened. It was very much my fault and my situation that created that. And I really regret that because she was a great person that I would love to have in my life to this day. So another way to assess and determine the signs that we have in fact lost trust is that concept of self-assessment and reflection and really turning inward to look at what has happened, what unfolded, and how we can maybe remedy it through new actions or new possibilities. It's also really important to assess your own feelings and intuition. Sometimes you just know that you can't be trusted. Now, this is a tricky one, and be very, very careful here. I want to emphasize that because we often think we just know, and we aren't doing the work on the back end to really look at where we could have done better or where we maybe misunderstood something or maybe we could have spoken up or said something. This is one of the classic things in disempowerment that I see over and over again. I see a lot of women wanting to feel more empowered, wanting to feel differently in their lives, and then ultimately playing the victim when they feel like they've lost trust in someone instead of stepping into their true empowerment and figuring out how that happened, if they played a role in it, and how they can also work to remedy it. Now, I said we were going to talk about rediscovering your inner strength. When we've lost trust in someone, it can be quite a blow. We can feel like quite a victim. And depending on what happened, maybe we were the victim of something and we really have every reason in the world not to trust. But we don't have every reason in the world to let that story continue dictating our life. We want to build our inner strength. When we want to be able to trust others, one of the biggest things that we can do is cultivate more trust in ourselves. Self-trust is one of the keystones of the whole concept of feeling empowered as a woman. So many women do not trust themselves. They're full of self-doubt. They don't believe in themselves. And then it can perpetuate this very victim-y mode that we can't get out of. So we want to cultivate that inner strength to tune into our values, what we need, and be very clear with ourselves and practice trusting ourselves, keeping promises to ourselves, knowing that we're going to show up for ourselves. We're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to nurture and befriend and love ourselves. These are all key tools. The more we trust ourselves, the more we are going to attract other people in our lives that we can trust as well. When we can't trust ourselves, we're kind of in this paradigm of a lack of trust. And so often it's really easy to get more of that. So we can practice both with trusting ourselves and learning how to get better at trusting others in terms of how we communicate with them, how we interact with them. We want to do things that empower our sense of self-confidence. This might be giving ourselves small, achievable goals that we can reach, keeping certain promises to ourselves, stepping into activities and things that we really love and feel like we are able to share our gifts within, and we get to feel that sense of value or sense of mattering to others. That's such a big boost to our sense of self-confidence. And this is one of the ways that we can build our inner strength, is by not only trusting ourselves more, but stepping into situations where we build our self-confidence, because when we have that, we believe in ourselves more. We trust ourselves more. Another way to build our inner strength is to cultivate self-compassion. This is a key to healing and growth. We need to have compassion for ourselves and compassion even for the one who we've lost trust in. If we want to build that inner strength, we can have compassion for whatever the situation is that caused us to lose trust, whatever they did. It's not condoning it. It's simply understanding that they have circumstances that maybe prevented them from being trustworthy or being able to fulfill the promise that they made, or whatever it is. And same thing for ourselves. If we lose trust in ourselves, we need to have compassion for ourselves and allow ourselves to move forward in a way that, instead of beating ourselves up, we build ourselves up. We build that inner strength. We cultivate more of who we are and who we want to become, rather than beating ourselves up for something that didn't happen the way we might have wanted it to. So we want to move forward, embracing trust as a path to true empowerment, embracing this capacity to rebuild our inner selves as a path to true empowerment, and definitely cultivating greater trust in ourselves and in the world in order to find greater trust in others and have more strength within ourselves and attract more of the trust that we're longing for, especially after we feel like we've lost trust in someone. Be sure to like, subscribe if you found this helpful, share it with others. Cultivating this trust and understanding how to move on after we've lost trust in someone is such an important tool, and I hope you found this helpful. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.